Hello, and welcome to Case Management Services training. This training will cover how to enter services for a client, as well as entering multiple services at once. The services workflow is as follows. You would go to your client's profile, you would click their service transactions, you would click Add Service, you would enter the start date and end date. Keep in mind that they must be the same date. You would choose the service type, then you would complete the need status. First, you would go to Service Transactions and click Add Service. These tabs can be found as shown in the red circle. Then we enter the service type and the dates. If you are working with a family, you would record the service on the adult or head of household only. The service provider, the start date, and the end date will auto-populate, but you will want to ensure that they are correct. You will enter the service type from the drop-down, then click Save and Continue. Then you would simply scroll down and complete the need status and outcome, and hit Save and Exit. Please note that the need status should always be closed and the outcome of need should always be fully met for a service. When adding multiple services, you will go to the Service Transactions tab. You would click Add Multiple Services. And if you are working with a family, you will record the service on the adult or head of household only. Now again, the service provider, start date, and end date will auto-populate, but you will want to make sure that they are correct. Then you would choose your first service type. The number of services should be 1, and the need status should always be closed. To add another service, you would simply click Add Another, and you will repeat the same steps with your second service type. Then you would click Save and Continue.
Hello and welcome. In this module, we will be covering services under the case management training. Services are one-time transactions that start and end on the same day. Any service that cannot be provided to your client on the same day should be added as a referral. First, let's look up our client. We can do this by entering the client's name, their social security number, or their client ID. I will go ahead and use the client's ID. Now, to enter a service, I will go to the Service Transactions tab. I will click the Add a Service button. At the top, it will pull up the household members. This is where you can select who the service is being given to. If the service is applicable to the whole family, you may record all members of the household. To do so, just select all the members. For this scenario, we would just record the head of household. The service provider will automatically populate based on what your EDA mode is, your Enter Data As mode. If this is the incorrect EDA, then you would want to cancel and make sure you're entered into the correct mode. The creating user and start date will also automatically populate. The end date field may or may not populate, but it is required and it should be the same date as the start date. Now let's go to service type. This drop-down is provider specific, so any changes should be requested by an agency administrator. For this example, I will use education. The provider-specific service is also agency-specific, so your provider may or may not have it set up. We currently don't have it set up, so let's move on. Let's hit save and continue. It has pulled up more options to enter information. The first two are service location and service notes. These are not required by HMIS, but may be required by your agency, so please refer to your agency admin for that information. The next area is service cost, funding source, and support documentation. These are also optional unless your agency requires it. The follow-up section is for you to follow up with your client on how the service went or just to reflect on that service at a later date. The last section, needs information, is required to be completed by everyone. The need status should always be closed, and the outcome of need should always be fully met. This is because service transactions are meant to be one-day transaction, and so anything that is not completed or that cannot be completed in a single day should be recorded as a referral instead. Once complete, click Save and Exit. It will take you to the services dashboard. It will show the service currently active, as well as any previous services if any other agencies have inputted. To get back to the main dashboard, you can click Back to Dashboard. If you want to add multiple services at once, then click Add Multiple Services. It will look exactly the same. You want to make sure you have the correct household member, you are in the correct service provider, the start date and end date are the same date, and then here for number of services, this is going to be how many services you're wanting to enter. For training purposes, let's say 2. The service type, let's say food pantries. Remember, the need status should always be closed for a service. Once complete with that first one, let's add another. The service type, let's say we gave them healthcare. And again, the need status should always be closed. Once complete, let's hit Save and Exit. And now you see all our services have popped up in the list of previous services. Let's return back to the dashboard. To view all the services currently created, let's go to View Entire Service History. Here, you're going to see every service that has been inputted for your client. And just keep in mind, every time a service is created, a need is also created. Same goes for a referral, which is why you may see 2 of the same type pop up. Now that is the conclusion for the services training. Thank you so much for watching.